This lecture will be on concept massing in Revit. So concept massing enables you to create a building form, a fluid building form, and then apply materials to that form to create a more realistic building. In this instance we've got the Alden site and created a form and applied a curtain walling system to it. So first of all we're going to open up Revit and we're going to create a new project. Click and select architectural template, click OK, and we've got our project browser, we've got our tabs up at the top, and then we've got our properties dialog box to the left. So first of all, with any project you need to set up levels, and now levels are reference points for you to say, for example, a wall starts at ground level and starts up at another level. So what we're going to do is go to create any levels we have to open up an elevation. So if you double click on elevation, anyone, it doesn't matter which one, and if we click on level under the architect, so architecture level, and then we just click and drag, don't worry about the height yet, and we can create left and click again, we can create multiple levels. If we create 5 for the time being. So in Revit it's generally, if you do it in rough you can edit it later, because it's quite fluid it enables you to make amendments afterwards. This little tab here enables you to line all the levels up and drag it out, so if your building's larger. And if I want to amend anything in Revit, if you select the element, dimension lines come up in a light blue. Now to amend them, if you select it, the dimension, and type in 3000, it moves it down. If I try and collect the dimensions, it won't work, but if you select the blue dimensions, it does. So if I drag that out, so these levels, when I select it, are from one level to another. These levels refer to 0, so that one's 3 meters above 0, that one's 6 meters above 0. If I put that one as, if I wanted it to be again 300, it'd be 9,000. So everything's drawn in millimeters. And if I change that to 3,000, or if I change that one to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that'd be 15,000. So now all our levels, are set at 3 meter. I've got them an additional 0. 3 meter intervals. So once you set up your levels, you can say where levels elements can tally up from one level to another. So when we create a floor, we create it on a level. If we create a wall, we say it starts from 0, and then ends up at another level. So we're going to create a 3D mass. So if we go to mass, first of all we click show mass, and the best view is just to go to the 3D view first. So if we go into the 3D view, we click in place mass, and you can rename it, but I'll call it mass 1. First of all we have to click show under workplace. So the way massing works is you start off with a 2D shape using the draw tools, and then from that you can create, it will translate that into a 3D object. So first of all we click model, and then select a rectangle, and on that green, on that blue, which is our work plane, which is essentially our sheet of paper, we can create a square. And now to create that, to change that into from a 2D to a 3D shape, click create form, and it creates a cube or a rectangle. Delete it. You can also use the line tool, so if I make a shape, but what we've got to remember is it has to be a complete shape. So what I mean by that is the line has to be continuous and end at the same point. If it overlaps like this, it won't overlap like this, necessarily work. So it has to become a single closed shape, and then when I create form, it creates a solid form. So you can't overlap the lines. You've also got the option to create other unique shapes, or a circle. And if I create a circle, if I select it and create form, it gives me the two options, either a cylinder, or if I create another circle, select it, create form, create a sphere, so it's a ball. Delete. Also I can create arcs, and I can combine that with straight lines as well, but again I have to make sure that those two select, create form, I can drag it up, and it makes those tools make it a solid shape. If I click that at the bottom, I can create an oblex and change that to a 3D form. So those are those tools. There's also what's called the spline tool, and the spline tool doesn't give you, well, it gives you curves which are a lot more fluid but are not what we say true curves. But you cannot add them together. You have to make it just a continuous line. If I select it, it won't create a solid shape, it will just create a plane along that route. If I try creating a closed shape, oops, I can try and create a complete shape as I've done with the others, it will not enable me to create a solid form. It has to be separated. That's the only difference between that line, spline line types, with all the others. So if I create a cube and I create a shape, now when you create a form, it will automatically give you these tools, and these are the modify tools and the arrows. So if these are X, Y and Z, so if you keep your finger on one of them, it will enable you to drag it in that direction. So if I click the red, it will go to the right. If I click it to the green, it will divert it. So you can start to manipulate that shape from quite a standard shape into a more fluid shape. Now with any 3D shape, you've got faces. So if I select the whole face, I can move it in that direction. You can also select just the length of that shape, that line. If I select it, I can pull it from just that one line. Alternatively, you can, if you hover around that point, you can just pick it up from that point and drag it up. So you can be quite fluid with these shapes, and you can start to create a much conceptual image or form just by either picking a line, picking a point, or picking a face. Other modified tools include move. So if I select something, I can use, these are the modified tools. So if I click move, you can move it in 3D. You can also use rotate. So if I take the surface, I can click on the rotate tool and I can twist that surface. So I can create a twisted form. Now Revit does have its limitations, so if I take that form and try to twist it, you won't be able to do it. So certain faces, depending on the geometry, you can manipulate it but to a certain point it might not compute. So these are the solid tools to creating a form. So once you've completed your form, and I'll click it, drag it up. So once you're happy with a form, you can select finish mass. Now you've just got essentially a big lump of cheese in a form. Now to apply materials, we stay in massing and site, and we use these tools to apply materials. So if I click, first of all you can apply coating molding, so that's just glazing. So if I select that tool and select a surface, and at the top it says create system, it changes that surface and applies a coating wall. These are the mullions and transients, so that's the grid system. If I select it, on the properties dialog box I can change how many go horizontally and how many go vertically. And also go to east or west, that's interesting. So if I can click on roof, these are just the preset roof materials. I just want you to use these for the time being. If I select a surface, so create roof, it creates a roof, or can't make roof. Maybe a thinner one might work. Yeah, so it's the thickness of that roof there. Can create the geometry, or you can create a wall. So if I hover around it, these are just preset walls, and if you just click, you can create solid walls. If you don't like the surface, you can delete it. If I choose to, I need to make some modifications to the mass. If I select the mass, I click edit in place, and it puts you back into massing mode. So if I wanted to bring that form out slightly and make it higher, I'll drag it out, click finish mass. Our materials, to update them, if you select one, click update face, it realigns itself with the mass. Update face, and then same again with that one. Select it, update face, and it realigns itself with the mass. If you don't want to see the mass anymore, if I go to massing site, switch it off, and mass will stay once you apply the building materials. So if we want to add in floors, click show mass again, and we click floors. First of all, we need to create floors. So if I select the mass first, and then we create mass floors, these are the levels that we created. If I tick them all, click OK. As you can see, these are the floors that we created. Now if we click on floor now, these are the preset floors. We can apply a floor to each of those mass floors. So the massing and concept massing is our temporary forms to apply materials to. Then if I click on show, what is left here are the floors. So that's it for concept massing. What we want you to do is, after creating one form, is to open up the site model, create, if you go to any of the elevations, create your elevations or create your levels. From that you can create a mass and then apply materials.